the session began, I had determined that by 1 o'clock we will finish. That was the time limit. So I think it is already going to be there. So I have to cut my time out of the so okay. So because several times the audience reminded that you are all going this, but I could not resist myself. The nice points that are being brought out by Dr. Venugopal, Dr. Rajgopal and Professor Jay Kumar, they are for us, and I am going to make only one point. See, the law are not made by Ministry of Environment and Forest or that for that matter Mines Ministry. The law is made by the entire government. So whenever any draft law is made, that is put on the website for several months for all people to comment. Now our association, many have got so much of material, which law is going to pinch where. So we have to take note of that, and whenever any draft law is made, then we have to take time to see that we object to it, give publicity to our objections, and see to it that the law, when made, ab initio, is reasonable and practicable and it is implementable. Otherwise, each new law, in mining, what we call, khit lagata hai, matlab smooth mining is going to be objected, is going to be resisted, is going to be, annihilated, and several countries have virtually the mining has now stopped because of all these law making authorities. Today we saw how the new amendments to MMDR Act, or for that matter some of the notification of 2006 or 1994, they are all having such pinpricks incorporated in them. We wish that at the time of the law making you would have taken care of that. For example, in our entire environmental legislation, one single word is creating so much of harassment to the applicant as well as the mine owners, is that prior approval. That means if that prior approval, if the word prior is not there, then approval quite we can understand that you have to maintain the environment. None of the mining companies are against the environment because that is what they have been living in. And I find that the mining community has got greater affinity, greater love, and they have been doing quite a good work long before the EPA came into being. I remember in the 60s and 70s, we have been planting so much of trees and doing so much of work, because in the MCR and there is some provision about maintaining the environment, maintaining the lakes and other water bodies around you, and then carrying the village and other people with you. This has been there for decades. So it is not that the mining community has been averse to doing anything positive about the environment. It is not. But then when the new and more stringent law comes, then you are caught. The mine which has been there for operating for several decades, when one of the lease periods come to an end, then because of the recent law, they have to come and get a prior clearance. Now one of the leading companies in this went to court and said, look, we have been in existing for last 76 years and now you are telling prior. When does the prior start? That means termination of the previous lease. That means 1 year before you have applied. But the agency which has to give you clearance, if it is taking 2 years, then what is the justification for them to stop the mine during the period the ministry takes to give you the necessary clearance or necessary concession or necessary extension of the lease or what have you? So the court rightly said, okay, no, you don't have to stop. So I remember another instance when these coastal zone regulations were being brought first time in 1991. I had just joined the Indian Rare Earths, which was all their operations are on the coastal area. And the coastal zone authorities, they thought that there should not be any mining within the CRZ. That means 500 meters from the high tide line. So that sentence was there, and that law was in the draft form in the website. So when I saw, okay, hamare to naukri bhi chala jayega, because that whole industry is going to be stopped when that is brought back from the website and made into law by signature of the president or the parliament approval. So then I had to go and take the help of Department of Atomic Energy, and after long struggle, I could get a sentence, a small phrase inserted, okay, no mining should take place in the CRZ except where the minerals are not available elsewhere. That particular sentence saved all the Chaudhary Sahab ka bhi expansion aa raha hai Andhra Pradesh mein, or Indian rare earths Manawala Kurchi and Chavra and other places are there, the whole beach sand mineral industry could continue because of this particular addition of a phrase. Otherwise, nobody would have bothered. Well, you mine elsewhere, but CRZ area, because they are eco-sensitive, no mining. That is what it would have been told. But as other countries, even limestone and others are mined in offshore areas because very good quality limestone is there. But in our country, it is not, limestone and many other minerals are not permitted. But rare minerals, that is including, there only are allowed. But possibly if you can mine rare minerals, you could mine other minerals also, provided all the precautions taken for a eco-sensitive area are taken. And many other countries, there is no prohibition of mining in on the shore area or just offshore areas also. So some of these things, the industry for which the law is being made by different people in different ministries and all are being made, then we have to be totally observant, and we should keep in mind that it is for us to protect our own industry in a way without jeopardizing what the other law is intended to make. We understand and appreciate that environment has to be protected. There is no quarrel on that particular issue. But every time you say you have to do it prior, that means without stopping the mine, we cannot proceed, and that means for the period of time the agencies like our committees take to give the permission, the whole mine has to be stand still. So that is creating a lot of difficulty. We had an example where the mine owners came for their clearance, and they have been violating as usual. So they said, have you stopped your mine? No, we have to stop. You have to stop. That is the committee said. And they had to go back. But they are telling, we have got lot of Maowadis and others in the vicinity, and they are not allowing us to stop the mine. They are telling our people are getting affected by jobs are getting affected, so you have to run the mine. So, but we had no other alternative because our mandate is prior getting clearance. That means without clearance, you cannot operate the mine. So next time again when they are called, the son came, the original person who was the proponent, he was not present. Then we learnt that he has been killed by the local people for having stopped the mine. Now the son said, look here, this is fate of my father is that he stopped the mine because they are told prior clearance. Now I am coming, but I have not stopped the mine. Do what you like. My laborer will be affected, their earnings will be affected, their livelihood will be affected. So I am do whatever you like or refuse my permission, but I have come for EC, but without stopping the mine. Now we were flabbergasted. We did not know what to do. So some of these laws are becoming so such a big dichotomy or such a big confusion, such a big, and there is logic in telling why should a mine stop just to get an environmental clearance if it has been going on from prior to 87. That means they were not required to come for any EC unless there is change of technology, expansion, and some other conditions are fulfilled. But the existing mines, if they are doing their normal duty, just because the lease comes to an end and another extension, deemed or otherwise, is going to take place, that should not be a cause for their stopping the mine and coming for environmental clearance. Had that draft of that particular notification were to be a little more carefully drafted, then we could have ensured that the mining activity goes a business as usual, and all the necessary requirements for protecting the environment could have been picked up as you go forward. So all this type of this prudence will come if we are more careful at the time of drafting. Now the 2006 notification has become, we have seen how many lacunae are there. So definitely it is going to be having to be revised. At that time I am sure that MEI will be more prudent and more careful in pointing out which are all the defects in that and how it can be drafted better without sacrificing any of the environmental causes or noble objectives. Thank you.